Am I the asshole for wanting to expose my sister to her husband after she confessed to my husband on her wedding day? Sorry for the confusing title. I didn't know how to word it any other way. I, 24F, have been married to my husband 27M for about 2 years. My sister, 26F, and her husband, 26M, are high school sweethearts. My sister and I have always been close despite the small age gap. She acted like my second mother, so I never doubted her in anything. Let's call her Jane. My husband, let's call him Bob, and I met at uni. I was 20 and he was 23. He excelled in both academics, sports, and looks, and was well known around campus because of that. So obviously, I had a crush on him. Jane also attended the same uni. Because I was new, she included me into a big circle of friends, and he was a part of that. I never made a move because I respected Jane and her friends. I didn't want to cause any trouble or make things awkward. She meant the world to me. Eventually though, Bob and I became close friends. I grew to like him more. I also noticed that Jane rarely interacted with him, which was odd considering she was close to almost everyone in her circle. But I never said anything. I did end up telling her I liked him though. She told me not to get my hopes up because he wasn't interested in any relationship. I was crushed, but tried to see him as a friend. He ended up confessing to me on my 21st birthday and we began dating, which obviously resulted in marriage, and here we are now. During the entire time we were dating, Jane started to distance herself from me. We did have a talk about it when Bob and I first started dating, and I told her I'd break up with him if she wasn't comfortable with it considering he's her friend. But she rejected the idea. She hugged me and said she was happy for me, so I took her words for it. She still distanced herself though. Her husband, boyfriend at the time, we'll call him Jim. He didn't attend uni, but his dad has a small construction business that he works at. Jim's a good man. He did everything for Jane, but due to our culture, women can't leave the family house until marriage. So Jane and I still lived with our parents then. So when Jim had saved up enough money to buy a house, he proposed to Jane and she said yes. Fast forward a year and Bob proposed. I said yes. Up until now, all Jane had done was distance herself from me. But when I sat my family down and told them the news, she cried. I thought she was crying from happiness until my mom told me I should have taken my sister's feelings into consideration before telling them. It was odd. It seemed like no one was happy. My mom took Jane to her room, but my dad stayed. He told me that Jane was having a hard time with Jim. I believed him. Since then, Jane distanced herself more from me. When I tried speaking to her, she'd reply curtly. And when I brought it up with my mom, she said that she's going through a hard time, so I shouldn't make it worse. So I left her alone. That was until Bob confessed that Jane had been texting him consistently for the past few weeks. He showed me the text. She'd asked if she should call or meet him. She'd also attempt to text him late at night. The last one was when she sent him photos of her in revealing dresses and asked him to choose the prettiest. That's when he decided to tell me about it. Before anyone says anything, no, Bob didn't lead her on. His texts were dry, and frankly, if I wasn't so upset with my sister, I'd say rude. He felt uncomfortable, but decided to put up with it because she was sister. He also admitted that Jane had confessed to him years ago, but he had rejected her. It felt like everything was falling into place when he told me that. I was so hurt by her. I immediately confronted her when I got home. I thought she'd at least be ashamed, but she said that I stole him from her. What's worse is that my mom sided with her. I've always had a feeling she was my mom's favorite, but she was my favorite too. It made sense. Everyone loved Jane. I loved her too. But she betrayed me in the worst way possible. She even said she hated me and didn't want to see me again. No one sided with me, so I packed my things and left. My dad told me that I shouldn't leave because it's not appropriate for an unmarried girl to leave her parents' house. My mom even called me a whore for leaving to go to Bob's place. That hurt a lot. It took a long time for me to get over what they did. When I think about it, it still stings. Bob and I lived together before marriage. I also cut contact with my family, and Bob and I got married without inviting anyone from my side aside from a few close friends. It was a lovely wedding, by the way. But a week ago, my cousin told me Jane had her wedding. I guess she went ahead with it. Today though, Bob showed me a message he got on Instagram from her. He hadn't seen it because it was in the request section, but it dated back to a week ago. She confessed to him again and told him she'd make him happier than me if he gave her the chance to. I am upset, really upset. He screenshotted it and blocked her and asked if it was okay to send it to Jim, but I said no. I don't know why. Jim deserves better, but I just don't want to deal with her anymore. I can't take it. I feel so guilty to keep this away from Jim. However, I don't want this to blow up in my face, especially when Bob and I have been living so peacefully now. Jim has to know, because Jane going behind his back and confessing her love to another man, that's an emotional affair. So she was cheating on Jim, and the only reason why she's only with Jim is because Bob didn't want her. It's not fair to Jim to be with someone who he wasn't their first choice. But what do you think she should do? Should they tell Jim or stay out of it? Wow, she is desperate, and you can't steal him from her if he didn't want her. He had years before you to pursue something with her, but he never did. He really should set her straight and then block her. I have had many opportunities to pursue something with you before your name, and I didn't because I wasn't interested then, and I certainly ain't interested now. You are embarrassing yourself, and I quite frankly feel sorry for you, that you have lost your baby sister because you thought I was some prize to claim. I've tried to be nice about this, but now you are just being damn right disrespectful to me and my wife. So I'll spell it out. I don't want you, never have, never will. If you message me again, I will send everything to Jim, then block. But I'd send everything to him anyway. Poor guy's a backup, and he doesn't know it. Save him from wasting any more of his time. NTA. And I agree with this. Husband needs to tell her directly that he is not interested, so hopefully bad sister's fantasy is finally broken and everyone can move on. I'm so sorry, OP. You said it yourself. Jim deserves better. You already don't talk to your family. What blow up are you expecting if you tell Jim? She's gonna hurt him in the long run. You're the asshole for not texting Jim before he got married to warn him and for continuing to hide from him even now. Edit. Thank you for all the solid advice both on this post and my other post. I think deep down, I was still attached to the family who raised me, especially my sister. Your comments have given me a reality check. For those asking what I meant by this blowing up in my face, I know my sister. I'm afraid she'll come to my house with my mom and escalate things to the point of police is needed. But I also understand that she'll keep harassing my husband and ruining Jim's life further if we keep quiet. I took your advice and told Bob he could contact Jim if he wanted. He said he'll think about it, so I'm leaving it at that for now. Personally, known as personality, he probably already sent it to Jim even after I said no, but I'll wait to see what happens. Thanks again. If anything happens, I'll update. Update. Hi, I just wanted to make a small update. As I thought, Bob sent a message to Jim even when I told him not to. He also screen recorded the message to prove that it came from her account, which I didn't know he did. At least one of us is smart. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but Jim didn't reply until last night. He called Bob and they had a long chat. Apparently, when Jim confronted Jane, she tried to blame Bob for coming on to her. They had a fight and she left to stay with our parents. I know a lot of you told me to send the screenshot to my parents. I did. I sent it to my dad, not my mom. I'm sorry, but I still can't find the strength to talk to her, and I don't think I ever will. My dad said he and mom will deal with it, and not to tell anyone what Jane did. I feel worse now for even thinking he'd side with me, lol. For anyone wondering whether Bob sent Jim the old messages from Jane from years ago, he didn't. He bought a new phone right after we cut contact, so he doesn't have them anymore. I don't know if Jim will divorce or annul Jane, but he told Bob not to contact him anymore, so I think we did our parts already. Thankfully, she hasn't come to my house, but I did take your advices about installing cameras. We'll be doing that next week. Thank you for all the help. You guys were right. Bob is my new family, so I'm not going to think about Jane or my parents anymore. We're having dinner at his parents tonight, so I'm rushing writing this, lol. Thank you again. I hope you all have a good day. All I gotta say is Jim better not stay with her, because what happens when the next Bob comes around and the guy actually wants her? Is she gonna leave him? Of course she is. Wow, how crazy. You gave your sister plenty of chances to tell you not to pursue Bob, but she gave you her blessing. Did your parents know that? This jealousy from your sister is just selfishness. She was crushing on Bob, but he rejected her. She decided to try to dissuade you by saying he wasn't interested in a relationship. Likely, she was just trying to excuse why he rejected her. She couldn't handle that he liked you instead. Even though she moved on with Jim, obviously move on is not really accurate. She continued to crush on Bob and blamed you for catching his affections. That was childish behavior and so unfair to Jim. None of this was your fault. Bob was a good man for not giving in to her advances. I'm so sorry your mother is showing such blatant favoritism. I'm also sorry your dad is going along with this. You are right. Bob is your family now. I hope your parents, or at least your dad, see how wrong they are. They just lost a daughter in favor of another one who is dishonest and selfish. Update me. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my girlfriend after learning about her credit card debt? I, 29M, recently broke up with my girlfriend Lisa, 28F, after dating for a year. My friends think I'm a huge asshole to break up with someone over money, but I feel that I did the right thing. One of my friends suggested me to post here so that I can see I am making the biggest mistake of my life. For context, I have a comfortable job now and financially in a great place. I grew up poor and had to scrap through most of my college on scholarships. Luckily, I found good mentors in college and was able to finish my PhD in a very lucrative field. I know what it's like to have nothing, and I'm very frugal with my resources. I met Lisa a year ago on a dating app. Lisa is beautiful, smart, and very charming. Our relationship has been great so far, and we have never had any real fights or differences. She also has great taste, which I lack, and helped me with my wardrobe and making my apartment so homely. Her lease was supposed to be up in a few months, and I asked her to move in with me. She was incredibly happy and agreed to it. However, we decided to discuss finances and other important things before we take the next step. 2 weeks ago, we sat down and I made an Excel sheet to decide how we are planning to pay for stuff. I knew I make significantly more than her, and I offered we pay proportionally, which she happily agreed to. For that purpose, I asked her how much she makes, and it was lower than I would have anticipated based on her lifestyle. I asked her how she affords all the designer bags and going to fancy vacations on that salary. She looked embarrassed and told me that she has around $20,000 credit card debt. I knew about her student loans, but that did not bother me. However, I realized she spends way more than she can afford and had no real answers on how she plans to pay back the credit card's balance. She told me that moving in together would help towards paying off the debt, as her monthly living expenses will go down significantly and she can pay that towards the debt. She told me she will be debt free within a year if we moved in. However, she also told me she could not be on the lease as she has poor credit history. All that led me to rethink our whole relationship. I was looking forward to a long-term relationship and also marrying her one day. However, based on what I have seen so far, she is very irresponsible with money. I have trauma from childhood where my father would spend money on gambling and on fancy items to impress his friends that we could not afford, and that meant we barely were scraping by. My mother kept the house together and made sure we had food on the table. I cannot be with a person who is so irresponsible with money and suffers like my mother did. I communicated that to Lisa, and she was upset with me. She told me that she is not asking for handouts and she will take care of her debt. She told me that she made some dumb decisions years ago and is just caught in a bad loop with credit cards. She also said that she is willing to learn from me as her parents never taught her about how to handle money. She also pointed out things I learned from her that I lacked. She asked me to give her time, but I just don't think I can play the same role as my mother. We talked about it for a while, and I told her we cannot move in together until she takes care of the debt. She said she cannot afford to live on her own and take care of it. Finally, we broke up over that. She still wants to get back together, but I told her I need time to think. My friends love Lisa and feel that she is a perfect partner for me. They think she has made me into a better person, and I am stupid to throw away a perfectly good relationship over something that can be fixed. I just don't think I trust her to change, and I know that eventually I will end up supporting her lifestyle if we get married, since money would not be an issue at that point for her. Am I the asshole to break up over this? And am I throwing away a perfectly good relationship over money? I honestly think OP is making a mistake and he is projecting his past traumas onto her. And I think if they moved in together and her not being on the lease would actually be a benefit for him. If he decided to give her a chance and she didn't change her ways, then he can just get rid of her because she's not on the lease. But what are your thoughts on this? Is he making a mistake or is he dodging a bullet? Comment down below. I asked her how she affords all the designer bags and going to fancy vacations on that salary. She looked embarrassed and told me that she has around $20,000 credit card debt. I knew about her student loans, but that did not bother me. However, I realized she spends way more than she can afford and had no real answers on how she plans to pay back the credit card's balance. She told me that moving in together would help towards paying off the debt, as her monthly living expenses will go down significantly and she can pay that towards the debt. She told me she will be debt free within a year if we moved in. Here's the issue with her plan. It does not involve her forming a budget where she has a surplus. It does not involve her making sacrifices for her financial future. I would want to see the following from her. 1. A budget where she's in surplus. 2. Tracking her expenses and spending over the next 3 months to see whether she can actually stick to a budget where she is in surplus and paying down her bills. If you need to walk her through this, then help her do so. But do not move in with her to save money before she has developed the skills to manage her income by herself. You are quite right that after you marry her, problems will go away and you'll be responsible for her debts. And she'll feel unable to spend and make more debt because you will make the problems go away. This is a recipe for hardship in your marriage. I would do 1 and 2 and go from there. If she balks at trying this, because it's harder than just moving in, just walk away. NTA, your concerns are reasonable. Neither of us brought debt into our marriage, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, we ended up about $50K in debt. It took me a little over 2 years to pay that off. I agree. NTA, she seems to think her spending problems will magically go away when her living expenses go down, but realistically, she'll start spending more, LOL. NTA, finances are a huge issue in relationships, so her spending habits are not a small issue. She said that she can't pay off the debt without your help, but you said you noticed her designer bags and fancy vacations. The fact that she's $20K in debt and she's still going on fancy vacations shows that she still doesn't understand even the most basic money management skills, and moving in with you won't solve that. If she's actually serious about dealing with her debt, she can sell her designer handbags and stop going on fancy vacations. Those 2 things alone will go a long way towards addressing that debt, but until she does something like that, you can't be her financial solution. That'll put a strain on your relationship that won't work out. These comments give some pretty good insight, and I want to retract what I said before. I didn't give my verdict for the story. I don't think he's the asshole for this. And I said before he might be making a mistake, but now I'm not so sure. He might actually be dodging a bullet. After all, because she might end up using him as a financial crutch if they move in together. So he probably shouldn't do it. But what is your take on this? Comment down below. And that's going to be it for me today. If you got to this point in the video, thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.